Hi guys, Bella here from Racing X, and today I'm super excited to be sitting down with jockey Stephanie Thompson at her beautiful property here just outside of Brisbane. As one of the most recognisable faces in the Queensland jockey room, Steph highlights just how far our industry has come in welcoming us girls into this incredible sport. As she's integrating her new era of motherhood into her racing career, we thought what better time to catch up with her than now. Welcome to Racing X, Steph.
Thank you very much for having me.
So you've had a whirlwind few years. You moved to Queensland from Victoria, reached new heights in your career in the saddle, notching up your first group winner on none other than Away Game.
Yeah.
You and Ben had a surprise wedding, and most importantly, you became a mother to gorgeous little Harry.
Yeah, it's been a very busy few years to say the least, but it's been amazing. We wouldn't change any of it for the world.
For sure. So how's motherhood?
It's the best thing that's ever happened to myself, and becoming a parent the same for Ben. It's our biggest achievement, having Harry in our lives, and wouldn't change him for the world.
I'm sure that although it was an exciting time, it must have been a bit mentally challenging being an athlete at the height of your career, having to take a step back during pregnancy and motherhood. How did you navigate that time?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I thought about long and hard before Ben and I made the decision to have Harry when we did. But the biggest thing that I always looked at was, where do I see myself in 20 years, in 30 years time? And that's being with my family, enjoying my life with Ben and my kids. So if it meant sacrificing my own personal career at the moment now for where I want to see my life in 20 years, it was a bit of a no-brainer for me. And that made it a lot easier to step away for that period and focus on our family and what our future holds.
Absolutely. And like you said, it is a sacrifice. And being a jockey, your main focus when you're riding is your weight and your physique. How did you navigate your relationship with your body, and has that changed since having a baby?
Absolutely. That was actually really tough for me. I really struggled being pregnant. You won't find a photo of me at 38 weeks pregnant. And to be honest, I really didn't handle it all that well. I admire those women who I see or I know, or even just follow on social media, who share their pregnancy journey and really embrace their body and the changes that come along with that, because that's something that I absolutely struggled with, and probably more so because of my job.
Yeah.
Because it is drummed into us about our weight and about our physique and how we're supposed to look, and it's something that I couldn't really wrap my head around sort of the whole way along. Ben was amazing. He was very supportive throughout the whole thing, but something that I had to work really hard on mentally, just to sort of make my way through all of that.
Was there much support from the industry in that? I imagine body image issues, obviously for mothers, but also retired jockeys, and re-navigating and relearning your relationship with your body and food. Was there much support from the industry?
Sort of, in a way, I guess not particularly, because when you sort of step away, you step away.
Yeah.
And admittedly, though, I'm very private with that sort of stuff, and was happy just to handle it in my own little bubble. Mm-hmm. But it is a tricky time, and particularly stepping away from a sporting career. And it's, I guess, like anything we see in life, not only in racing, but there is a lot of issues around body image and being okay with how you look and appreciating your body, which isn't always easy to do. Social media can be a big negative factor in that, but as I said too before, I admire the women who I do follow on social media who have been through pregnancy and been through motherhood, and promote their body changing in a positive way. I think that's the best thing people can do.
100% change starts with the little things, doesn't it?
Yes. And
so I know you had one ride back after you had Harry, and then you all headed over to Hong Kong, and now you're back and back in the saddle. You're actually going to the races tonight. So thank you so much for having this interview. Was returning to riding always on the cards when you had Harry?
To be honest, I didn't really know where my career stood whilst pregnant, and in the sort of few months following Harry's birth. I never put a time frame on it, and I never put a label on it as to whether I was, I guess, retired or not.
Yeah.
It was really just how I felt, and to be honest, the first few weeks, probably first 6 or 8 weeks after he was born, I didn't have any focus on racing. It sort of didn't exist in my world. My only focus was Harry. And then once we got home and we got into a routine and sort of felt right for me to start stepping back into track work. And I'm very fortunate that my dad's a trainer and makes it a bit easier for me. I can just go down and jump on a couple of his and was able to see how I felt. And I guess you could probably say I never really lost the passion for it. And it didn't take much for me to find that again.
For sure. And have you changed much as an athlete and a rider since having a baby? I imagine that maternal instinct might foster a different relationship with the horses.
Yeah, for sure. I think, if you ask Ben, I've probably always been very maternal when it comes to my animals. I treat them all like my children, and I have always had that kind of relationship with horses too. I have found that women that I know in the past who have become mums have changed how they feel when they're on a horse due to becoming a mother, and can absolutely understand why. I think I was very lucky in my way that I didn't feel it was any different. And once I get on a horse, it's like it's my own world. And I just you put yourself in your own head, and I focus on myself and the horse below me. But it's funny, even when I have been at the races and Ben and Harry have come along, as soon as I'm off the horse, he's the first one that I want to go to. Even if it's been riding for Dad, I just want to go and get Harry first.
Oh, that's so cute. And like you said, your dad's a trainer. Your family has a long lineage in the racing industry. Was your great-grandfather a trainer as well, is that right?
Yeah, it went all the way back to my great-grandfather, and my pa helped a lot. And then my dad trains, and both my older brothers are jockeys too.
Yep. So did you ever consider a career as anything else?
Probably not. We did a lot of equestrian, a lot of pony club growing up, and I always loved that. But I did my first gallop at Geelong Racecourse when I was 14 years old and was pretty much hooked ever since. And obviously I watched Damien and Boris both become jockeys and go through their apprentice program. And once I hit the track, it was pretty much all over from there.
So other than your two older brothers, you did say obviously that they're jockeys. Who are your idols in the saddle?
I think it's like anyone. Like, you look up to the best there is. And it's funny, I remember strapping for my dad at Flemington one day, and Damien Oliver was on the horse. And when you're speaking to somebody like him and you're not yet race riding and it's something that you want to do, it's like talking to a celebrity. And it's funny, I remember he asked how I was going, and I said to him something that I had wasn't quite yet to figure out, was just how I hold my reins jumping out of the barriers. And he told me what he did, and it stuck with me ever since. And to this day, I still do that, like how he spoke. And you remember those little things as you're growing up and you're coming through the industry and talking to those people. And guys like him are the ones that you do look up to.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was the support like in the jockey room, starting as an apprentice versus to now? How has that dynamic changed?
Yeah, look, very different. And I guess for me, being in the Melbourne jockeys room and then being in Queensland as well, Melbourne was amazing. We had a great group of girls that we come up through together. And I also had the likes of Nikita Berryman, who now rides up here, and Jess McNeil, who was Jess Payne when she was riding. And we just had a really good group, that there were those girls that were a little bit older that you could come through and look up to and get that help from, and then also ones at my own stage coming through. And it's funny, as competitive as we are on the track, everybody always gets along so well off the track. So
your husband Ben was offered to ride in Hong Kong, and his contract's just been extended. You guys are about to head back.
Yep.
How is life in Hong Kong?
It's great. It's an easy place to fit into. And the Hong Kong Jockey Club, they do a fantastic job. They make it easy for you to pack up and move halfway across the world. So it's a tough place for jockeys to get going. It's not an easy place in that respect to step into, but Ben's done a great job. He's worked extremely hard since he's been there, and I know he's looking forward to getting back into it now, and hopefully he can have some more success in the next 3 months.
Yeah, definitely. And like we discussed just before, it was hard to take a step back in your career. Is it hard to again have to do that with Ben riding in Hong Kong, although you have Harry and you're both cheering him on the sidelines?
Absolutely. I mean, it's different because I'm stepping away for myself but for my family. So as much as personally it's a sacrifice, it's a no-brainer for me when it's the best thing for my family. And as you said, Harry and I are always there supporting Ben, and that's what we'll do. We'll always be his biggest cheerleaders, and I couldn't be prouder of him for the opportunity that he's got over there. And I guess being in racing too, understanding the magnitude of an offer to come from Hong Kong, makes it a hell of a lot easier to step away.
Yeah, 100%. All right, on to some more lighthearted questions. Can you tell us your best troll story, on course, off course?
Oh gosh. I got a horrible message from a guy one day, and then I stalked his profile and found he had a girlfriend. So I screenshotted his messages and sent them back to her, just making sure she knew.
A boss move.
Who was in her backyard at night, and I think that was the most enjoyable thing I've done.
Absolutely. So what's left for you on your racing bucket list? If you could tick off that one race, ride that one horse.
Oh, look, to be honest, it was something I considered when having Harry, was where do I sit with my racing career and have I achieved what I wanted to achieve? And you always want to achieve more, you always want to be better, and you always want to be the best. But I'm satisfied with what I've achieved in my career. If I could come back, I mean, everybody wants to win a Group 1, don't they?
Of course.
I ran second in my first Group 1 ride on Got a Kiss, and to be honest, on that day I felt like I'd won, and I imagine it feels a lot different when it is actually a winner. But yeah, if I could come back full time and you have that dream of something you could do, it'd be winning a Group 1.
For sure. So what's the best spray you've ever copped? And was it from our boss Sterling?
Probably not quite. I could probably, you know what, it's probably a tight race between my dad and probably Tony Golan. He always gives good ones too. So yeah, I think my dad probably at Moonee Valley one day, I rode one of his, and yeah, he gave me not the most pleasant chat after the race, but then I come out and rode a double. So Dad had it in his head after that day he had to make me angry, and I'd ride better. And
oh, great, I bet that was great for your relationship.
Yeah, really good.
So how do you feel about the idea of your son Harry possibly working in the racing industry in the future?
He can do whatever he wants to do, and no doubt Ben and I will support him in whatever decision he makes. But when we've been a part of an industry that has given us all that we've got, it's hard to not want him to be a part of that too.
Of course, yeah. And so what do you think the racing industry would need to guarantee Harry a future in this industry?
I think it's just bringing to racing what the younger generation enjoys and what they look for, and I guess in a way it's maybe bringing a bit more of a party to the races, making it fun whilst also acknowledging what racing is and making it about the horses too. I think it's just going with the times and going with what changes in the general public and what those younger generations are into, and I think if we can, I guess, keep up with the times, there's no reason why racing won't always continue.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us here at Racing X, Steph, and thank you for welcoming us into your home. We so appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.